Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have more revelations coming out of WitcherCon, and that is the Nightmare of the Wolf, a spin-off series, animated series that I believe Netflix announced it a few months back. That will be following, a younger Papa Vesemir, which I'm so excited for. Coming off, Dota Dragon's Blood, which gave me, it really gave me a lot of similarities to The Witcher. If you've watched the reviews, then you hear me make several Witcher references because I was hoping for something in that vein, and I'm hoping that that's what we'll be getting here. More so because with animation, it allows you to get away with a lot of stuff, with a lot of things. With live action, there are always going to be restrictions with the actors, what they can and can't do physically. Without bringing harm to themselves, even where stunt men and stunt women are concerned. But with animation, you can do that without the added risk, or without having to use CGI to actually execute those actions. So I have high hopes for this, and I do have some concerns because they've also done Dragon's Dogma, which was not great, and a few others as well. I think Altered Carbon, and I think they even have a cyberpunk series in making, which the challenge I have with a lot of what Netflix has been pumping out is they appear to be prioritizing putting out as much as possible and focusing less on the quality of those content, and that is where I think they've fallen down a bit, particularly with the 3D animation, which I'll get into a bit more towards the end of it. So before we go into that, let's check out the teaser for The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf. All right, Dead Witchers. Looks good. Looks good. The battles are gonna be so sick. Oh, okay. That's surprising. Oh, August 2021. That is surprising. I was expecting much, much later, like next year later. I'm excited but also concerned given that the release date is this soon, right? And the animation itself, from what we've seen, which is just very little, it looks very, very much like not Dota, but it reminds me a whole lot of Castlevania actually. I do wonder whether it's the same studio that did Castlevania and Blood of Zeus, because I'm seeing a lot of similarities there, which I hope a lot of those similarities are going to be the good and not the bad, because I didn't particularly like Blood of Zeus. I like Dota, save for the 3D elements. And yes, I'm going to get into the 3D thing because it's prevalent in a lot of what Netflix has released so far, and there's an ongoing discussion or debate about whether it's necessary or not. We've seen a lot of success with other properties like Castlevania, where I don't believe, if memory serves, Castlevania has any 3D animation, unless it's a mixture of 3D and 2D, but it's not prevalent in the series. And there are instances where you do recognize that in order to not have 3D animation, which is cheaper, that the showrunners have had to cut back in certain areas. So you'll find in Castlevania, the first 4 episodes of the season are usually not great. They don't look great in terms of the animation, and then the latter half, or for larger battles, they'll step up the animation a bit. So they've had to be, sparse with the budget that they've been given, and part of the reason for that may be because they want to push for using 2D animation versus 3D. So there is a drawback, and I wish there wasn't. I wish for a lot of these properties that Netflix would give them the budget that they do deserve. There's been so much discussion about wanting Berserk, wanting for fans who want Netflix to actually do Berserk, and that is my concern because we've already seen what happens when you try to do Berserk with 3D animation. It does not work, and I had this very discussion with a few persons. For the Spriggan, there was a Spriggan trailer released, I think, a day or two ago, and that was a series that came out in the era of things like Akira and Ghost in the Shell. But that the trailer that was released actually looks pretty good. It appears to be a mixture of 2D and 3D. My concern here with this in particular is that this may be following the same route, and I don't know. I'm just of two minds with it. There are instances where the 3D elements work, like the Dragon Prince, where I think it suits it perfectly because the target audience there is relatively young. You don't much care about that, and there isn't particularly a source material to reference. But for this in particular, it's both good and bad. So this can go either way for me, to be honest. I'm interested in the stories. I'm interested in the monsters because, as I said initially, I think they can get away with doing a lot more with animation than they can with live action. So I'm anticipating a lot of monster battles with Vesemir and seeing some just wicked duels and fights and other witches. So the creature designs and all of that would be a lot easier, with animation than it is with with live action, where you have to worry about, okay, if you do practical, this is the limitation here. If you use CGI, this is your limitation there. So with animation, you can do whatever you want to do, and it does say Lorna Hiss, which is the showrunner for this as well. So I'm excited for that. I'm just concerned about the direction as far as the animation because, I don't know which studio is doing this. I'll have to look that up, but it does look very much like Blood of Zeus. Yeah, so I don't know about that. But as I said, with the whole 3D, 2D animation thing, I think it's best to put out less projects and focus that budget in putting out, smaller but quality projects. You're much more likely to build a better fan base. I think someone drew this analogy, during one of the on the Spriggan trailer, in the comment section on the Spriggan trailer, and it was like, okay, watching animation now versus animation in the 90s. It's like, okay, you were watching something in 4K before, and then you're told to now watch this in 480p, and that's how it's going to be going forward. And that really is what it is, because 2D cell shade hand-drawn animation, and let me just say no, I think the animation now, it is much more vibrant. The colors pop a lot more. It looks beautiful, but the challenge for me comes in with the finer details. The motion of the characters lack any fluidity. And if you pause a frame in something even like Castlevania, all you'll see is just a blur, and your mind is forced to fill in the gaps, where it didn't used to have to. So it's like, perhaps if you weren't around when hand-drawn animation was more popular and more dominant, then you're more accepting of it now. But if you've seen that and you come here, then it's a drastic change, right? So I'm looking forward to this, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Not so much for the story, but because I've seen them do several other properties with the 3D 3D elements, and they just haven't worked. And I fear that this may go down the same road, but I hope it doesn't, because I think this has a lot of potential to go places where the live action series just isn't able to go. So I'm really hoping that this does extremely well. All right, guys, be sure to post down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this trailer. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.